But I'm going to stick with the state of Victoria for now. You see, their government seems to have a lock on all the really dumb ideas. Not only do they think debt doesn't matter as they effectively shut down private enterprise and build a police and public servant state during that pandemic, now they think a raft of new taxes is going to pay for all of their excesses. But I'm going to tell them that's not what happens. New taxes just chase good money and good investment out of a state. And it's a pretty simple calculation. As an investor, if I can get a better return elsewhere, well, that's where I'm likely to go and put my money. And although that is basic economics, it hasn't stopped the Dan Andrews race for others' riches. They've put forward a raft of dumb ideas, and frankly, one of the dumbest has to be this proposal for rent controls. It's been confirmed that they are actively considering a ban on all rent increases for 2 years. Believe it or not, that's going to hurt renters, as well as the mum and dad landlords who happen to live in the Venezuela of our federation. First off, a move like this will drive investors out of the market. Many will sell and they'll take their money elsewhere. And Dan Andrews has said he doesn't care about that. But he will care when all of those rental properties are no longer available to rent. You see, around 90% of residential rentals are actually owned by small investors. They're the nurses and the teachers who are trying to save for their future. And if they step out of the market, the question is who's going to step in? The government? Good luck with that. And that's why rent controls are actually bad news for renters. The availability of rental properties will diminish. And those that are available, well, of course, the rent's going to be front-loaded to accommodate the freeze period. And that means there's going to be more upfront costs for renters, which they can ill afford. And that's why these types of policies are actually being dumped, even by lefty politicians right around the world. In the UK, the Labour Party have dumped a rent control policy from their manifesto. And the Irish, they protested over the consequences of their government's terrible rent control policy. That saw small investors driven out and then the giant international vulture funds move in. And in America, rent control properties in places like New York, they're not maintained to the same standards as others. Landlords simply can't afford to, which then creates virtual slums. And that's a lose-lose for everyone. This is the future that Dan Andrews and his ilk have planned for Victoria and for Australia. These types of policies, well, they come straight from the Greens Party manifesto, which basically tells you just how radical and economically irresponsible they are. Socialism, in whatever guise it is presented, doesn't work. That's a lesson many people right around the world have learned the very hardest of ways. Incredibly, it seems the Victorians who keep re-electing Dan Andrews have some more hard lessons coming their way.